So the recording is started.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Dear colleagues, hello. Nice to see you today, and welcome to join our session on BRICS cooperation amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Today we have many representatives from BRICS countries, and we are going to have a nice discussion, I guess. My name is Anastasia Pitachkova. I'm a deputy head of International Laboratory on New Regionalism and World Order, and also I'm a deputy head of the Asia Pacific Department in the Center of Comprehensive European and International Studies at HSC University, and I'll be moderating this session. It is the second session on BRICS cooperation during April conference that is conducted under BRICS Network University framework. And for us, it is a great pleasure and honor to see our guests from BRICS countries and also to continue this cooperation despite pandemic limitations and all limitations that we see in today's world and all the problems that we face. It is very good opportunity, I guess, to discuss many complicated processes that we are dealing with and hear the positions and opinions from BRICS countries and also elaborate on this topic together. So we'll start the session immediately and give the floor to participants, but before it, I'd like to give the floor to Maria Budrevich, just in order to tackle major points considering BRICS Networks University and our major activities. Maria, please, the floor is yours.
Anastasia, thank you. It is my pleasure to have the second session of the BRICS Network University, ITG in Economics. Last year we also had a session on sustainable development in BRICS countries within the April conference. And I'm really happy to see all of you that you can take part in this event. It's really grateful, and I would like to tell some news about our ITG group. We have some events, the upcoming events as well. First of all, this is second BRICS summer school within the framework of the ITG in Economics. We will have it online, but it will last a week, and I think I will also send the information to all the participants of the group. We have a lot of applications already from the Brazil, especially. It's really nice to see the applicants from all over the world. And the second upcoming event that is stated is Latin American Forum in St. Petersburg University, where we also took part previously, and our group will take part this year. Probably we will have an ITG group meeting this year, but we should state the time. Alina Sherbakova couldn't take part in this event now. Maybe a little bit later this year, this autumn, we can have a group meeting as well. So I'm really happy that we are here, and I think we are ready to start the session, the roundtable.
Maria, thank you very much. It is my pleasure to give the floor to Professor Marco Rocha from Unicamp, Brazil. Please, Professor Rocha, we are looking forward to your reports and to your insights on your topic. Thank you.
Good afternoon, good morning for those who are here in Brazil. I don't know if the transmission is okay. Everybody is listening.
Yeah, everything is fine. We can hear you clearly. Yeah, hear you well.
Okay. I'm not listening you very good.
Mm-hmm.
The connection are kind of bad. I don't know. I'm gonna start to presentation here.
Professor Rocha, maybe you could just turn off your video, and maybe the internet connection will be more stable for you. Let's try it like this. Is it better? Is it better now?
Okay, you're seeing my presentation?
Yes.
Hello.
Hello. Well, now we do not see your presentation, but we saw it previously. We saw it, I guess, 30 seconds ago. Could you please try to download it once again?
I can listen. You're seeing my presentation?
Now, unfortunately not. Could you please restart it once again?
Now.
Now, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see.
You're seeing now?
Yeah, we can see the slides. Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, but I don't know what happened right now. But
it's just a program. It's not your problem. Yeah. I mean, it's just a platform that it is not stable.
Okay, so good afternoon to everyone. I'm gonna try to talk in a few minutes what happened in Brazil and what are the politics right now to fight against the COVID. I think that probably everyone knows that Brazil is probably the worst example of the pandemic. We are reaching right now about 400,000. Probably we are going to reach in the end of this number, and it's a combination of incredible lack of attitude of federal government and the lack of resource to subnational coordination for subnational government. I'm going to try to explain with a short political contextualization of what happened in Brazil in 4 years ago. Is in the middle of a political turmoil since 2016, after Dilma Rousseff and rising of a government in Brazil in 2018. Bolsonaro government is very close to the Trump administration and very aligned with its foreign policy. Since the start of Bolsonaro administration, the Brazilian foreign policy characterized by some kind of a hostile attitude against some members of BRICS and some strong declaration of the Minister of Education of the in 2020 is when the pandemic started. Part of the Brazilian government is what we can call COVID denialism. That it's exemplified by some kind of declarations like it's a virus made by China. It's a profit selling vaccine, and it's just a this, and after it becomes some kind of more hard conspiracy theories, like these are some kind of a plan of China to control the world and to sell vaccines and sell medical equipments, and declaration against also develop the vaccines, of the COVID vaccines. That's it. The vaccines are not tested right. Collateral effects that nobody knows, and a very clear position and of there's some kind of strong evidence that the Trump administration to not sign any kind of cooperation with Russia and China to research and develop vaccines and after acquisition of vaccines. And so in basically the Bolsonaro administration states struggle against the reality, say that the COVID is gonna stop and nobody have to worry about that. And indeed trying to maintain the economy at full speed, and we can say struggle against reality. And that the subnational governments are lying about the numbers, are inventing the numbers, and all kind of. In the middle of during the 2020s, the majority of political actions against the COVID are made by the actuation of the Congress and some subnational government made some say cooperation groups and trying to enter in the cooperation, international cooperation to develop and acquisition of medical equipment. And the Congress tried to pass some legislation and some measures to against the COVID. In the middle of this, the political of against the COVID are concentrated in 3 fronts in Brazil. What we can call auxílio emergencial, a guarantee, a temporary suspension of employment contracts, and a program to open new credit lines. But during all this time, the official rhetoric of the government is about to state don't spend too much, it's gonna ruin the economy, we have to be very economic, practice the austerity, and this politics also marked by the between the federal government and the subnational governments. Indeed, there's a Bolsonaro against the subnational government. Bolsonaro tried to shame the subnational government to ruin the economy for nothing, that because the lockdown is ineffective. It's the official rhetoric of the government. So basic, what economic in terms of economic measures, it is to establish new budgetary resource, about 5% of Brazil, mostly concentrated in the minimum income program. This is 4.3%, and what was paid in 2020 really it's 3% of Brazilian GDP. The small business credit lines is about financial aid to subnational government. Is about 1%. GDP, and the temporary suspension of contracts is about 0.4% of the Brazilian GDP. What's called attention, the federal government made to spend around 0. in vaccination, but only spent 0.03% in. It's an example of how Brazil fight against the vaccination and didn't spend any political effort to buy vaccine, kind of cooperation to develop vaccines, and all the initiatives that happened in Brazil became from the federal government. And indeed it's a big problem, because the subnational government have the financial resource to fight against the COVID and to establish material means to make them effective. So right now in Brazil, we're starting a COVID Congress against the Bolsonaro government. It started this week, and the political crisis right now harder because of this, and we expect in the next week that some are show that the attitude of the federal government go in the direction of don't sign any kind of accords of cooperation, and to stay in alignment with the in the beginning of the 2021 in Brazil is right now we have a high unemployment tax, about 15%, a labor 1/3 of the labor force, and a job loss because the branch roots of a lot of business in Brazil. The boss, I don't know even can call a plan, but to establish the economic growth is to privatization, return to fiscalism, return to exact and made more reforms like administration reform, shrinking down the size of this kind of neoliberal typical reforms. As I said, Brazil probably is the worst case of COVID response against the COVID. We lost a lot of people in Brazil. We lack of political coordination with the subnational. We established a very hostile rhetoric against the members of the BRICS, the federal government, and made a very hostile rhetoric against China and against Russia. And what happened in Brazil, it's the reason of all of that. And there's a uncertainty about what's going to happen in Brazil in the next weeks, because Congress Committee of Inquiry, there's a risk that start an impeachment process people, and it's very hard to say that what's going to happen about cooperation with the BRICS, what's going and all of Brazilian political issues right now. I'm trying. You can.
Thank you very much.
You can see me.
Yeah, we can hear you. There are some problems with connection, but still we were able to hear a presentation. And Professor Rocha, thank you very much for sharing Brazilian approach to deal with COVID-19, and all the measures that you have mentioned are really important. And I guess we would be able during our discussion to look at them in comparative perspective and see actually how Brazilian experience could be assessed from other countries, and what part of this experience could be efficient and relevant to all other BRICS countries as well. And you mentioned political turmoil. I guess it concerns not only Brazil, but also many countries of BRICS and all over the world, as economic losses and socio-economic situation is not really stable, and it affects political situation as well in many countries. Thank you very much again. It was really interesting to hear about Bolsonaro's plan and all measures that Brazil is taking in terms of providing credits for small enterprises and supporting vulnerable groups of population. Thank you very much. It was really interesting to hear all the information you shared with us. And now let's move on, and let's take a look at Chinese experience. And I would like to give the floor to Professor Cheng. Professor, could you please join our session as a speaker and share your insights with us?
Actually, as I informed you, I don't have a formal presentation for today. Actually, I'm not an expert on. I'm not a medical expert. I'm neither expert on international relations. I was interested in this topic, so I chose to participate today. So I would like to hear more insights from other experts. So yeah, please let other experts speak. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Still, I guess we'll be eager to hear your questions and maybe your comments in the discussion part then. Thank you. In this case, let's move on to another part of our session. And it is my pleasure to give the floor to Professor Kurbanov. Dear Professor, Professor Kurbanov is from Moscow State University. And Professor, could you hear? Can you hear us? Okay, great. So we're ready, and we will be glad to listen to your presentation, to your report. Could you please turn on your mic, because we cannot hear you. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm sorry for the technical problem. I can hear you, and I want to talk about small cases of collaboration of BRICS countries about project of framework program of BRICS, framework program BRICS, which was established in 2015, and its main goal was to support excellent research on priority areas which can be addressed by multinational approach. And In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, BRICS framework program in July was launching a call for multilateral basic applied in innovation research project facilitating cooperation among research and institution which consist of partners from at least 3 BRICS countries. And the deadline was August 9, 2020. And I'm sorry, I can show presentation. I have some problem. Just a moment, please. So
yeah, we can see your slides.
Yes,
everything is fine.
Thank you very much. BRICS Scientific Technology and Innovation Framework Program, and it's launching for concourse about response to COVID-19, and the end of the participations of this concourse of this program, research funding organization, you can see on slide, from Brazil, from Russia, from India, from China, and South Africa. And main topics, main thematic areas of this concourse is very important for crisis situation, for situation with COVID-19. You can see it's research and development of new technologies for diagnosis COVID-19, genomic sequences of viruses of SARS-CoV-2, and the modeling or mathematical modeling of COVID-19 pandemic, and applying of artificial intellect, ICT, information and communication technology, high-performance computing, which oriented for new drug design, for vaccine development, and other questions of public health infrastructure. And the other vector is epidemiological studies and clinical trials to evaluate the overlap of SARS-CoV-2 and other infection, other comorbidities infection, especially tuberculosis. And it was about more than 100 projects have been submitted in response of this program. And in February of this year was changed, was marked 12 projects, winners, which have been selected, and you can see position of these projects. It's a multidisciplinary platform based on artificial intelligence for accelerated drug discovery, genomic sequences of SARS-CoV-2 and studies of the epidemiological and mathematical modeling of the pandemic. BRICS Smart, very interesting project. It's Alliance for Smart Resource Utilization to combat global pandemic of BRICS. Multi-level framework for quantitative analysis of COVID-19 pandemic, mathematical modeling approaches. I think, very important project, network for genomic surveillance for all countries, BRICS. It's a work with the information of genomic variation of viruses. Next project, impact COVID-19 on clinical manifestation, diagnosis, and other problems with have linked with comorbidity infection like tuberculosis, and research and development clinical effect evaluation in nucleoside drugs. A special, very interesting project, hitazan-based carriers and targeted delivery system for clinical approved and for reported anti drugs and disinfectants for SARS-CoV-2, and last projects integrated multi-scale spread models and control strategies, epidemiological impact and intersection of the COVID-19 and tuberculosis pandemic, epidemiological features and geospatial evaluation of COVID-19. And the goal is to find correlation with comorbidities and prognostics biomarkers between SARS-CoV-2 and Mycobacterium tuberculosis, between COVID and tuberculosis. It's a very important project for future because we can see now that pandemic isn't so short as we apologize in 2020 years, and now we must show how its correspondence with other infection, other pulmonology infections such as tuberculosis. And the last project is repurposing of drugs and validation of lead compounds against main protease and RNA-dependent RNA polymerase of SARS-CoV-2. So I can say I apologize that these projects, these goals of research are very interesting and very important for the next step in collaboration of our countries in the pandemic situation. Because the first steps was emergency. First steps was about sorry, just a moment. First steps was about situation in individual masks, in equipment of air and other emergency questions. The next step was situation with the vaccine, with finding of optimally types of vaccine and starting of vaccination company. And now we can see that the other problems is complex, is manufacturing research of situation with SARS-CoV-2, and this research can integrate scientific communities, scientific peoples of science for our countries, and it's I can say that it's a next and a special platform for collaborating of BRICS countries in crisis situation of our days. I'm sorry for technical problem with presentation.
I guess everything was fine. Thank you very much. And actually, your presentation shows us how many achievements in terms of finding new spheres of cooperation BRICS countries have been able to do. And because COVID cooperation only started last year during Russian chairmanship, and Russia did its best and all BRICS countries, of course, as well, to change the agenda and to actually tailor BRICS activities to what is happening in the world and to geopolitical, geoeconomic situation and to the new realities. Your report shows how many formats have been elaborated, and it was very interesting to see them all and to hear your expert opinion on them. Thank you very much. Now I think it's time to proceed to a discussion part of our roundtable. And I would like also to say that apart from representatives of BRICS countries, apart from experts and PhD students from BRICS countries, we also have Marina Leonidovna Batalina here, who is head of International Cooperation Department and has an experience with dealing with BRICS countries. And we also have Valeria Gorbachova from BRICS Research Committee, and Valeria is deeply engaged into BRICS activities, and she was one of the major, I guess, organizers of all of the activities of Russian chairmanship last year. Dear colleagues, every one of you, if you have any comments or ideas towards the topic of our roundtable, please, we will be glad if you share your comments and your impressions about the session, about BRICS experience on dealing with COVID-19 consequences.
I think, sorry.
Yeah, I see.
Bernard, Bruna have a question.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Marilyn, Leonid, do you have any comment, or we can just no? Okay, good. Yeah, it is nice to see you. It is a pleasure to see you once again, and we're really glad that you managed to join our session. So, Bruna, please welcome, and the floor is yours. Please, your question.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone in Russia. Good evening for those who are in China, and good morning for those who are in Brazil. It's a great pleasure to be here, and it was very nice to listen to Professor Marco and Professor Kurbanov. And just some comments, some additional comments. First of all, here in Brazil, as Professor Marco showed, we are having very hard times with the Bolsonaro government in many aspects, and one of them is precisely in the participation in BRICS, because as you know, he has a totally Western-oriented external policy. Every time when we discuss in these BRICS forums, we try to show that in spite of this attitude of the Bolsonaro government, we still have a lot of space for cooperation within BRICS countries, not only, but also through academic cooperation, right? So the universities of BRICS countries through diverse forums. They got together in the last few years, and they are doing a lot of cooperation. So in this sense, I was very pleased to listen to Professor Kurbanov and see that actually I didn't know all this kind of cooperation in medical issues. So it's fantastic to see that it's going on, and the Russian leadership last year was indeed very important to deepen this cooperation through universities. We also have cooperation in the civil society. We can try to circumvent at least first Brazilian energy, let's say, or lack of will of Bolsonaro's government to move ahead in this so important cooperation. And Bolsonaro government will finish eventually. So BRICS cooperation will last, I'm sure about it. Some other comments. It would, I guess, for all kinds of, for global governance as a whole, the pandemic showed many problems. Because many countries, or all countries in the world, looked for national solutions. First of all, for national solutions. It's sometimes it's a kind of understandable, because amidst this urgency, all countries closed the borders and so on. But obviously, one would expect more of these multilateral cooperation, or even regional cooperation within some blocks like BRICS. And so in this sense, I would say we did a bit, but we could do more. But I'd like to highlight one kind of cooperation through maybe the institution which is in this moment more successful in the BRICS cooperation, at least as a concrete institution established and so on, which is the NDB, the New Development Bank, because they started, as you know, some lines specific for COVID-19. It's a bit out of the purpose, the initial purpose of the bank, but in my opinion, it's very, very welcome, because then the bank can provide some resources for the 5 countries to cope with, mainly with the social problems arising from the sanitary crisis, right? So I just wanted to really remind about that. And then final remarks, just to it's rather something for us to debate. We can, in the national ways of dealing with the pandemic, if most successful ones, and then we have maybe South Africa in between, and Brazil and India, the worst cases, as Professor Marco said. Last year, we had some policies in Brazil, the emergency income, which was not a proposal by Bolsonaro government. It was something that the chamber approved, but still it was very important. It could create like a buffer for the social vulnerability, which is very high still in Brazil, as you know. So it could prevent starvation, not more than prevent starvation. But then this year, we had a huge reduction, as Professor Marco told us. So, well, attitude of Bolsonaro was now in India. We see that they could prevent somehow the infection for a while, but now with the events that took place in the last weeks, they well, due to their population, they are going to be the one most infected, most touched, most hit country in the world. Just to finish, still when we analyze the 5 countries, we see that in 3 of them South Africa, Brazil, and India. One of the big problems is not the sanitary crisis itself, but the social consequences of the crisis. And then in the three countries, we see problems in the policies of the government, precisely to give material conditions for the whole population to survive during this crisis. So in India, we saw, for instance, massive movements of people going from the city back to their towns in the rural areas, and in Brazil we are now having more and more families really in a hard situation. We have violence which is increasing due to the lack of income and so on. So, well, I guess within countries we have very diverse strategies, and we should be learning with the most successful ones, which in my opinion are the Chinese and the Russian one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I guess it is very interesting to hear that Russian case is assessed as a successful one, because I guess here in Russia we also have many questions about it. Okay, yes. Good. Yeah,
you're right.
Thank you for your opinion.
From Brazilian perspective.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, dear experts, could you please comment on Bruno's ideas? And actually, I guess one of his questions was about the efficiency of national strategies, right? So what kind of measures could we consider as efficient now? And actually, what kind of maybe concrete measures, and from all BRICS countries' experience, and especially if we consider some country cases efficient, could be implemented, for instance, in Brazil or in Russia or in India, in the countries where the situation is sometimes not really stable, and the government should do, and the people themselves should do many things in order to actually cope with COVID-19. Well, Professor Rocha, maybe could you comment on the situation in Brazil? What is your opinion? Because you have actually covered many measures that Brazilian government is taking. What is your opinion about the efficiency? And actually, if it is possible, could you please comment on the relation of these measures to BRICS agenda? Because again, Professor Kurbanov has named many measures considering COVID-19. Do you actually have some impact of these measures in Brazil? Can you see some signs that these measures are somehow related to Brazil, I mean, in real life? And what is, again, is there any interconnection between all these beautiful projects that were named and real situation in your country? That would be very interesting to hear this.
I'm so stable today. The audio is cutting every time. So I'm trying to explain what I heard. If I heard the whole question. All the initiatives that involve development and area in Brazil was made by some, how can I say, state institutions, public universities, and laboratories. And this is part of a national system of innovation of Brazil. And these institutions are responding during this time, in respect of the fact that the cutting budget year after year of this. And what say the respond against the COVID. It's not an initiative came from the Bolsonaro government. It came from the bureaucracy, and it's the fact that the politics against COVID in Brazil. After that, the federal government made little things, and how can I say, in some time sabotage the as we can see against the Butantan, spreading fake news and trying to intimidate directors. So what we are doing, especially in the universities in Brazil, is trying to inspect of the what federal government are doing, and with that we are advancing in develop our own vaccine and or some kind of inputs of medical inputs, but it's a little, how can I say, it's little things for a very big country, and it's not enough to fight against the COVID, especially because in 2020 an economic measure that guarantee some kind of possibility of lockdown. In this year, we did not approve any kind of economic measure like that. The resource right now we are in the middle of a conflict of the fact, because the responsibility of administration and management the hospital is a competence of so the subnational government has to do something to fight, and the federal and the national and not giving any kind of budgetary resource to the subnational government to do this, and saying to the population, speak to the population that subnational government are ruining the economy and the people are losing their jobs because of the subnational governments. So it's what I'm talking about when we said that's right now in Brazil, that we're passing right now in Brazil, because what's going to happen in the next month, during the next weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you very much. Well, actually,
a lot of hires.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you very much. It was very actually interesting to hear your honest and very precise answer to this question. And of course, it is quite, hard to hear that not enough measures are taken for the population of Brazil, and much more, of course, could be done for people. I would like to maybe develop this agenda a little bit. What would be your opinion on the measure? So what kind of measures could be efficient in this situation, in your opinion? So if we think that Brazilian government is not doing enough for now, what other measures could be taken? And another part of this question would be connected to BRICS agenda. Can BRICS somehow help Brazil in this situation? Because again, during during summits under Russian chairmanship, there were two basic topics, right? With economic development, with sustainable development, and with terrorism. And we see that India actually well, at least on official level, they say that they will be continuing these topics. And for 13th summit in India that will be held this year, they announced 3 pillars. So one pillar is on is in politics and security fields, and they want to discuss reform of multilateral institutions and also terrorism cooperation. Then I think, and this dimension would be relevant to all BRICS countries. This is economic and financial part. which is dealing with economic partnerships, with sustainable development, infrastructure, trade, and many other dimensions. And of course, kind of a traditional pillar which is dedicated more to cultural and people-to-people cooperation. Do you see any initiatives in BRICS that could help Brazil to deal with its internal situation better for now, for this year? What kind of maybe platforms and institutions could be taken into account in terms of Brazil? Okay, I think I have. Can everyone hear me? Because I think. Bruna,
Yes.
is it okay with your connection? Yes, right. So I think there is not very stable connection with Professor Rocha.
Yes. Meanwhile, do you, Marco, are you here? If not, if you want, I can try to initiate commenting, please.
Well, Bruna, maybe let's start with your comments then, and I still hope that Professor Rocha would be able to join us. Maybe if you have some connection with him, maybe he could rejoin the session. Just to answer.
Okay. Another. Okay, with the hand raised. But just for those who don't know me, I'm also from the University of Campinas, and I work with Professor Marco Rocha. That's why I'm intervening, just to try to say what
thank you.
He will be saying. And then starting with the answer, I guess there is a idea in Brazil that there is a trade-off, not only in Brazil, maybe in other countries as well, between facing coronavirus, facing the pandemic, COVID-19, and saving the economy. And in our Center for Research, as we take part, me and Professor Rocha and some other professors, we are trying to raise the argument that there is no trade-off. Actually, the sooner we solve the problem, the sanitary problem, the sooner the economy can start recovering. And then the Chinese case is the best case to show this evidence. Actually, Bolsonaro is since the beginning saying that people have to go to work, people have to earn. The point is doing as he's doing, we just the pandemic lasts more in Brazil. So we are now discussing the third wave that we still have. So and the vaccination base is really low, so we will have this problem with the pandemic at least until the end of this year, 2021. So that's the point. If we really do a lockdown, really strict, but obviously with in giving conditions for the vulnerable workers to have a kind of income, an emergency income, obviously to survive these 1, 2, or 3 months of really strict lockdown, then it's a way of facing the pandemic, and then we can try to get back not to normal, but get back to a reality in which the economy can start recovering. That's our point. So for your first question, and for the second one, related to the possibilities of cooperation with BRICS, it's not so easy, precisely because we see that countries, as I said, are trying to solve everything through national solutions, right? But at least we can have, if not for the 5 countries, at least what we see in Brazil is precisely the contrary, because again, Chinese vaccine. Then at the end, due to the pressure of the whole society, the institute in Brazil which is responsible for allowing or not the vaccines, allowed Coronavac, and then the state of São Paulo started buying it. So as Professor Marco said, the subnational entities, the states, are in a role which is more important than the federal government, you know. But just to let you know, the Russian vaccine is still not allowed in Brazil. You see, so some geopolitical issues come to the way this federal government is dealing with the whole situation, which instead of trying to create these bilateral cooperations with, we have within BRICS 3 countries with vaccines: India, Russia, and China. So it would be the moment to step in and try to create this bilateral, or to enhance or to deepen these bilateral relations with China, Russia, and India, if not for other reasons, at least to have the vaccines. But this is not what is being done by the federal government, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, it would be also, I think, very interesting to hear the Chinese perspective. Maybe Professor Chen, if you're ready with your comments, how would you assess the situation in China? Because again, China is, I guess, one of the most efficient in dealing with both medical and socioeconomic side of coronavirus, and China has shown positive growth after 2020, which is a rare case. And also we know that in the first quarter of this year, China's economic growth was assessed as 18.3%, and actually some experts even told that the projections for economic growth were even higher, but still 18.3% comparing to last year is a huge number, and I think unreachable for many countries. So what would be your view on the situation in China, how you feel it's there, and which BRICS instruments could be actually interesting both for China and maybe for promoting Chinese cooperation with other countries. For instance, we know from the news that BRICS New Development Bank also offered a loan for China. New Development BRICS Bank is a very efficient kind of economic instrument that could be really helpful in the situation, in difficult socioeconomic situation in BRICS countries. Okay, what would be your stance, Professor Chang?
Well, again, I'm not an expert, so I would like to say something. So I think, so put it short, so institutions are different. So there are benefits, are cost, right? When you mention the benefits, I actually have to weigh cost against benefits. So I'm not going to go any further on that, because well, that would be long, and again, I'm not an expert. So I think right now, I don't know how other countries and learn from the Chinese experience. Again, institutions are different, but I think one thing we can do together is to first of all get rid of this COVID-19, right? Again, after that, we can think about other things like economic growth. So here I don't have many insights to offer, but I do have a question. This is actually why I came. So I'm interested in how BRICS, right, together, 5 countries together can go forward to do something for each other and for the rest of the world. So to me, BRICS was formed loosely as a kind of economic growth club. So we are actually not very strong political allies. So in terms of the current situation, it's right. It's all beyond economic growth. So I'm kind of I'm not that optimistic about cooperations right, amongst our 5 countries. So I think maybe a better starting point is bilateral cooperation. Say Brazil and Russia and India, China and India. Actually, I'm here. I want to know if there would be, or there has been already a framework for these 5 countries to come and sit down and to do something right together, get their own assignments and go back, right, do their own part. So I'm kind of confused or frustrated, maybe, right? As a Professor Rocha, I kind of feel relieved after I heard his frustrations, right? So I'm kind of frustrated. So I want to hear your insights about how we could work together, by 5 countries, in the framework of BRICS. So actually, yeah, that's my question. So I would stop here and try to get more comments from others.
Yeah, Professor Chen, thank you very much. And I guess that is a wonderful question. Professor Kurbanov, maybe could you please start answering this question? And I hope that other participants of our discussion would also add their own views on this point. And actually, your presentation was mostly dedicated to this issue, right? So how, which instruments could BRICS provide as a platform for cooperation for other BRICS participants? And maybe you're one of the most competent people here in our discussion on COVID-19 cooperation during within BRICS. What kind of instruments would you outline? And maybe you have an experience how Russia implements this instrument or other countries, and maybe you could say also some words about the efficiency and somehow lessen our frustration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. As I think the main topic for collaboration between BRICS countries is vaccine research and vaccine production. But we can see that these fields is on these fields we can see great political influence. Brazilian situation, as Professor Rocha and his colleague show, is very difficult. Brasilia has many research centers like Butantan, like Fiocruz, Oswaldo Cruz Foundation, and other. But Brasilia has big problems with vaccine development and vaccine company. And I think the effective collaboration in this field may be a great argument to win in the situation with pandemic. And the next field is, I think, is collaboration in drugs research and research in medical question of protocols, the therapeutic protocols, and develop pharmaceutical development. In totally in situation of pandemic, we can see three phases. First phase is a quarantine. It's this decision is typical for all countries, and all countries have no other decision. And quarantine is a decision which can give time, for the next phase. The next phase is vaccine development and looking for therapeutical protocols and modification of health system. And the third phase is vaccination, is a vaccine company. And now we can see that many countries have problem in this phase because they have no vaccine for all peoples, for all kinds of peoples. And we know that now international alliances like GAVI, Gavi alliance of vaccine, like COVAX, but this alliance, these programs has no priorities financial support for national governments, and I think it's one of many problems which was highlighted by this pandemic, by this situation of COVID. So I think that the most effective measure, most effective decision is a vaccine development. But now you can see that the level of collaboration in this question is not so high as it's can be. It's possible.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for your opinion, Maria. I think you had a question or comment.
Yes, I think I had a question to Professor Kurbanov about the financing. Maybe you know something about who financed all the projects you've mentioned. Was it like a new development bank, or it was finance from the national governments of the BRICS countries?
As I know, the parts of finance is from national governments of BRICS countries, parts from foundation of Bill and Melinda Gates. So there are different issues, different points of finance.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Bruno, maybe you have some comments on Professor Chan's question about different BRICS formats. So do you see any efficient format for BRICS countries cooperation? And actually, what do you think about the input of BRICS into national development? And again, as if I understood Professor Chan's question correctly, on a national level, there is sometimes frustration, and BRICS instruments could actually be very helpful in solving national problems. Again, maybe you can it's just impossible to use the BRICS instruments, and all countries should focus on bilateral cooperation. I know it's a very provocative question, but I'd like to hear your opinion on it.
Yes, it's a very difficult question to answer because Professor BRICS is still a bloc under construction, let's say. It's still a recent bloc, and which was formed, as everybody here knows, by reasons that were beyond the collaboration of the governments. It was an acronym by Gene O'Neill, as everybody knows. So emerging countries in which foreign capital could earn a lot of money. But then those countries realized that they can construct something together, and they started doing it recently. And in my opinion, we already have some solid results, even if they are maybe lower than those who are not so representative as those we could expect. But let's go to some of them. Now, obviously, for the emergency of the pandemics, as I said, the national solutions are being implemented, rather the national solutions, but we can have these which is already something big, in my opinion. In Brazil, for instance, our current Minister of Economy, he says that it's really not possible to do the emergency social program as it should be done because of lack of money, because the public debt will increase and so on. We could challenge this argument in various ways, but still, even if he does not want he could have a subsidized, let's say, loan from NDB to do this emerging program. After the pandemics, we will have a very problematic we will have a big challenge to recover the economies, and then or even and then we that China is so, and for all other countries within BRICS, we have disruptions of the global value chains due to the lack of supply from many countries. For instance, in the automobile sector in Brazil, many factories are just interrupted their production due to the lack of supply. So we can use this connection, this particular connection with China, in order to try to rebuild this value. I mean, this supply of intermediate goods, which is important for us to, from the supply side of our economy, to start recovering. And obviously, from the demand side, the exports, our exports to China are very important. Then, in a second moment, investments. It will be very important for all countries in the world to have serious plans of investment in order to revamp the economy. It's not by chance that Biden just launched his plan of $2 trillion investments, notably in infrastructure, right? It is to ameliorate the infrastructure, but obviously also to create demand. And then again, we can do more and more investments within BRICS, and then China is again the most important player, notably with the Belt and Road Initiative, which so far does not include Brazil, but includes the other some of the BRICS countries. And then those investments, which are somehow planned, it's the time for us to take them out of the, let's say, of the pipe, and then start doing these investment plans, which will be important for recovering the economy. And then I go to a long-term, let's say, perspective, which is the one related to the global governance, which I mentioned previously. It was a shame, in my opinion. I don't know if you agree with me, but it was a shame in terms of global government, what happened now with the pandemics. Trump is one of the responsibles, but well, the threats of going out of the World Health Organization. And then also Bolsonaro took part on that by arguing that United Nations, even the United Nations, was in favor of China more than in favor of the Western countries and so on. And we did not have global measures in order to deal with the pandemic, at least not with the most important issues. We have some meetings and some decisions which are important in terms of the debt relief. This is something which is happening, but not much beyond that. So my claim here is that this global governance, which was erected by the Western countries, notably by US and Western Europe after the World War II, is just not in action. It is just not active, most of all for peripheral countries, for the global South. So it's the moment, and BRICS. One of the reasons why BRICS exists is precisely that: try to challenge this world order, even if the rhetoric is different. But in my opinion, this is one of the most important roles for BRICS: try to challenge the world order and reorganize this global governance. And that the pandemic shows that there is an empty space for BRICS to step ahead.
Bruno, thank you very much. I personally like your positive mood and positive things that you've mentioned, and I share all of your thoughts in this sense. Dear colleagues, do you have any additional comments or questions? If yes, please raise your hands. I'll be able to see it on my screen and give you the floor. So then I will take my privilege as a moderator and also share my thoughts with you on this issue and comments. Well, I think we had a very productive discussion, and we have raised really important issues for BRICS cooperation. And addressing Professor Chen's question, I guess it's really important to figure out what is going on in this sense, and how could we tailor global, regional levels and take most of take the advantages from both subnational and national levels of cooperation. And I would maybe outline the three levels that are very important for understanding BRICS importance in the world and for nation states as well. So, and Professor Chen mentioned that he's international relations, and I'm in international relations myself as well. And one of the hottest topics is, of course, Sino-American confrontation. That it is actually a structural factor that affects cooperation on the globe. And of course, well, Bruno mentioned Belt and Road Initiative, and he mentioned it in the context of opportunities and additional instruments that BRICS countries could use. But actually, if we consider this confrontation context, sometimes countries could not join formats and institutions because their geopolitical and political orientation, and Belt and Road Initiative is one of the I guess most obvious examples in this sense. And we also have the formation of Indo-Pacific region. And for me, at least, I guess on a nation-state level, we should understand what actually reflects our national interest. And sometimes, even if the formats are overlapping, we still are able to exist in this very complicated reality, and we are also able not to choose just one partner. We also to be engaged into many projects, and I guess that is what BRICS shows by its existence. BRICS consists of countries with different regimes that are geographically far away from each other. They have different economic structures, but still they're together and they have much in common. And again, pandemia showed that many structural problems, many socioeconomic problems are very common for BRICS countries. And coming to the question, what kind of BRICS instruments could be useful here? Well, on a formal level, we have plenty of them. In Professor Kubanov presentations, they were shown that there is a huge amount of instruments only in dealing with COVID, right? And again, if we look at the news, it's really important that BRICS cooperation didn't stop with Russian chairmanship, but it continued, and we saw that in April, Shuvalov told that BRICS countries could actually found a medical center that would deal with COVID. And Professor Kubanov mentioned grants and also other initiatives that were implemented during this time. And we see how many opportunities can we actually have. Moreover, during Russian chairmanship, there were two important documents signed, and one of them is BRICS Economic Partnership Strategy till 2025, and the other is the BRICS Counterterrorism Strategy. I see them as an opportunity and attempt to come to common ground, and at least to focus on the spheres of cooperation that are really important for BRICS countries. And actually, what it means, at least in my opinion, is that we already have a framework for cooperation, and our responsibility and the responsibility of each BRICS member state is to fill it with content, and at least to make this conflict content also efficient and observed by other BRICS members. If you look at this BRICS economic partnership strategy, there is a huge amount of spheres that we could cooperate in, and if the spheres we already have cooperation, and they start from standards to more to wider issues. So I would be on a positive side, along with Bruno, I guess, that we already have many opportunities there, and we can create more if we want. So, maybe my last point here would be that, again, we see some signs of consequent following of the agenda. It would be really interesting to see how Indian agenda would be developing this year, and what kind of new initiatives and cases we would see. So in Russia, there was during Russian chairmanship, there was also a huge step in promoting education and creating new framework in education science, and we see that there was cooperation in space, IT, and many other fields. So I guess that we should not look for areas of confrontation, but rather try to find a common ground for us and for developing our national interest, because of course we have this national interest, and they could confront with other countries, but I guess the focus on economic development, on common goals, would bring us more, and would bring us more opportunities and more benefits eventually in sharing COVID experience, in sharing vaccines and other important achievements of human civilization. So that would be maybe my concluding remarks for this session. Thank you very much, and thank you for being with us today. And our session is another sign that BRICS cooperation in education and science and expert field continues. So let's take this road and actually move along this road further. I would be personally glad to stay in touch with you, and for all people who are viewing the session, if you have any ideas for cooperation in academic sites, please, you can find our emails on the website, and let's again stay in touch and promote BRICS as a platform which would be very beneficial for our states and for our nation states. Thank you, and have a good evening, morning, or any time that you have in your country. See you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.